Okay.
So when I met Pastor, I didn't have that problem with him, but everybody around me did. My family did. They had some difficulties with me. But what I noticed about Pastor and the people that were here at Straitway is the kindness in the men and the women. I'd never met such kindness. And when I started to observe where did that kindness came from, I knew it came from Jesus, but it filtered down through Pastor. He is such a man of integrity, and that is always the word I've used with him. He is an honest man, and what he says he does, and he'll tell you it directly and very much to the point, but it's always with love, and you know that. A true sheep knows when you're being loved, and you know, it may reel you a little bit, and you got some of them demons you got to deal with, he's mad at you or whatever, but once you work through it, you see that, no, this man is loved. I've lived out here, I've not had to be a woman that works, even though when I came on board, I said to Pastor, I had to, for the court purposes, I had to try to get a job. With my degree and my potential, I could have brought in $100,000 salary to the community. And I asked Pastor, would you like me to do that? No, you're okay, we need you here. So see, I was not even required to work, even though a single woman can work, and I certainly would have gone out to work. It would have been a long drive for me, but he didn't put me through that. He allowed me to be here, and then in a couple of years, he started me teaching out here. So
everybody's inquiring, you know, how did Straitway come about? How did we get to this point? And they can tell and sense that it's like something is catching fire. You know, it's growing because they can see the happiness, they can see the joy, they see the peace that is being obtained. They can see we're very serious about this walk.
And so you've been teaching for over 40 years?
Yeah, I've been in education for 40 years. I started in '78 to get my degree.
Okay,
and then, I taught.
I was born in '77, so I know that. So I can do the math. So
yes, sir. Yeah, but yes, 40 years I was in education, and I taught library science or public school library in an elementary, middle, and high school.
Okay. And you taught most of the children here then during those years. You
yes,
was the teacher
I took over from Mother Carroll. Mother Carroll had the first school here, and it had closed down, and the mothers had them in their homes when I came out here. And I was just an advisor to them. I started as an advisor, and then some of the, sometimes the mothers would send the things, and I've taught a lot of that.
Okay. So you've been, what's your, I don't know if I want to call it secret or whatever, but as you talk to, people want to know, like, you've been doing it for 20 years. I mean, you've seen the up and down. The ministry have had different waves of, when it got divided. You have the, peeing in a bucket. Now, I know you wasn't there necessarily, but you probably was still associated from afar, but from head cover,
Right.
Was you around the ministry when they wasn't doing head cover?
Oh, yes, sir, I was.
So you were there when they instituted it, or
yes, sir.
So you heard people leaving for that type of stuff, or you had people leaving because of deliverance. They started doing deliverance. That came in, and you got the polygyny, and you got the whole dynamics of all the different things where you just see it. What does Pastor? He has a saying. He says that he multiplies by dividing and add by subtraction. So you've seen all that stuff. How did you weather through all of those different things? Even being a woman with polygyny, that's a big one, or the head cover. How did you was able to overcome all those stuff and still be here today as you are?
The way I overcame all those things was the voice of Christ and my relationship with Him. I can remember many times certain things would come up, and I would think, Father, why is this going on? And I can remember when we almost had a divide. We did actually have a divide. Some people left. This would have been before healing and some stuff. Just the ministry had broken away from. We actually broke away from them, and that was kind of.
What ministry is that? What ministry?
The Brother Stair. When when that divide came about, I was a little bit sad for a moment about, wow, Pastor was the first one to tell me to go and listen to this fella, and I didn't know that he, had any kind of problems with him, but we all have problems. But I said, Father, why would Pastor Dow have told me this? This kind of makes me a little angry that Pastor would have done that. All of a sudden I got my spirit, would you like me to pull down your wall map of sin? I said, oh, no, sir, I don't. Let's reel that baby right back up. In other words, I'm about to charge the man of God that, he has led me into a wrong ministry because this guy's ministry was not, above board. I didn't know that. But then the Father let me know, no, you just going to have to roll here and I'll show you what goes on. But I watched the integrity of Pastor come through that. He never charged that man in any way, as if he never portrayed him as, someone that you should not be kind to or whatever. Just let's stay away from that ministry because he's got an error. Once he comes out of his error, then he's welcome back just like anybody else. It was always a beautiful thing. We always felt that way about anyone that left. It wasn't, okay, they're an enemy, stay away from them, we're not. It was never that. It was like, okay, they've got some sin now they're going to have to deal with because we don't allow sin. We don't allow sin in our camp. And so I loved the integrity of that. It was very beautiful because he was a very genuine man. He meant it. He was showing Christ's character to the T. If you sin against Christ, he backs up a little bit, but if you get rid of that sin, he welcomes you right back. And that's what I saw with this ministry, and that's why the Father shut me down. Don't go start charging anybody with any problems here. You got to watch and see how this rolls around. And I've always stayed hopeful for that other man to please come back to the Father in a righteous way.
So you was with Stair the whole time, and then you came?
No, I never knew Brother Stair.
Oh, okay.
Pastor was, that's when I got my shortwave. That's why I began to listen, because Pastor was not preaching at that time or teaching. The only thing I got from Pastor back in those days was a cassette of the Sabbath message.
Okay.
I would get a cassette from him, and he was not on shortwave radio at that time. It was only Brother Stair. So I started listening, and Brother Stair was very influential in playing other people's messages and letting you hear other things, and he was very, very wise man as far as knowing what was out there and righteous.
But did you get the tapes? They mail it to you, or how'd you? Okay,
they would mail me tapes, and then when we got to CD technology, I started getting the CDs.
Okay.
They were such a faithful ministry.
Wow.
And I never paid them a penny.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I did pay them a penny.
Okay.
I was not allowed to give any tithes from my home. I never was able to give them a tithe.
Okay.
But I said, Father, if I ever find a penny or any change out in the parking lot, I'm sending it right to Pastor. You ought to see, and you'd have thought I had found $1 million if I found a penny in the parking lot, because I could send my tithe to Pastor. And Pastor used to laugh at that. He'd get 2 pennies sent in the envelope, but that was the only way I could support him. But I did support him with prayer, and I supported them. My husband didn't mind me sending them letters, so I'd send the sisters letters and send them tea or little somethings, in the mail. But they sent me tapes and they sent me CDs all those years. I have banks of them. I can show you. I brought them with me. I've got banks of CDs, old CDs.
Wow, I like to see that. So let me ask you this. So you being a woman, you were married, you came into this truth. It's very patriarch.
Yes.
Was it even patriarch even back then? Was it very patriarch?
Not like we are now. No,
Okay.
not like we are now. And I did watch that change, and I watched Pastor's philosophy on it change too. And that was a little odd for me that he was one way and then he changed. But then I began to understand. I see it, Father, because it is biblical, and you're getting us ready to go in the kingdom. We're not going to be able to go into your kingdom with this, matriarchal rulership on only one wife thing, because that's not yours. And when he opened that up, what I saw very fast is that these women are not trusting their husbands. They do not have a trust of their husbands. And I just knew it immediately. I knew what their problem was. I tried to minister to them, tried to save them from having a heartache of leaving their husbands or going on a hard road. I tried my best to, and anyone that ever came up to talk to me, that's exactly the first thing I had to say. Look, you don't trust your husband. If your husband needs to grow and expand for the Father, he needs more help. I said I could always use this analogy with Pastor, and whichever camera I get.
Go.
Whichever camera. I'm looking at all you cameras. cameras.
Just
I've
look at
never
me.
had an affair with Pastor. He has never had an affair with any of these women here. But if he had, I could see how a farm could be run properly. Let's say that Pastor was the husband, and Sister Vicky was a wife, I was a wife, Sister Carol was a wife, and these other women. Sister Vicky runs this greenhouse. She has specialties. I could see why a big man with a large plantation could take on extra wives because it would roll beautifully. I could see it from here. Now, we're not married to Pastor. We've never had even the inkling of going with a pastor. He's been married to Mother Carol for years, and now he is showing us the proper steps that a Hebrew man would do at an aged situation that he is. He's an aged man. He's now ready to start having some more offspring with another woman. It makes total sense. I could see it just as clear as a bell. And I tried to show the women, look how it would be. Look, pretend it was like this. Pastor was all of our husbands, just the women that live here, not you guys. Y'all are on the outside. But if it was, we were all married to him. Can't you see how he would need us to expand and run a huge operation, how beautiful it would be? But they couldn't see it. A lot of them just closed down. No, he's my husband and I'm not sharing it with him. But I'm like, well, that's too bad because you're going to lose a good man and you're going to lose a nice life. And I was sorry for them because I would have loved to have been in their place. I'd have showed them how to do it. I sure would have.
So, because I remember when I first called the ministry, you was one of the few people that I talked to in the beginning. And,
yes, sir.
And it was just interesting that it wasn't just as a man, obviously you have to choose between his wife, his children, things of that nature. But I think something that you said that you stayed. I guess you stayed. I don't know how, stayed as long as you could.
I sure did.
But you was the woman in this case, and I'm thinking like, wow, I want my wife if she wants to be submissive and everything like that. So I guess I don't know what you'd be willing to share there, but you stayed because I think it's different from a man's perspective. A man has to choose to follow Yah, but how would you explain as a woman being in a situation where the husband doesn't want to follow, but you want to follow? It's a little bit different. Can you share how you got out of the situation where you can continue following the Most High, but it just didn't work out?
Yes, sir, I'll be glad to. When I came to Christianity, I said it was a small church, and my husband did try to go. He actually did because he was a Presbyterian too, at least his family was. And his dad was very strong into it, and his dad died early in his life, but he still kept that he was a Presbyterian. So when we both met, it was like, oh, I'm a Presbyterian too. Okay. I hadn't gone to church either, neither one of us had, but we still had that in our mouth that we were Presbyterians. Well, when the children came, I told him I would like to, start taking them because that's something that I really am strong at. I want to raise them very strong in faith and, strong in moral character. I didn't know about real faith, but I just knew moral character. He had no problems with that. And he did try to come, but he just was not comfortable. And I said, I think he had an Edomite background, and I just don't think Christ, once he found out who Jesus was and what it required of him, I don't think he was willing to go there. And so anyway, I continued to go, and he did allow me to go until I met Pastor. That's when it changed. Even though when I was still in Christianity, I told you, I was studying things. I stopped listening to rock and roll. So when we rolled down the road and he'd turn on the rock and roll music, I was not happy. And, I'd like, turn it down. He's like, no, I'm going to listen to it. So we'd have a little bit of battle there until I realized I'm just going to have to shut up about it. But boy, I don't like it. See, I didn't have anybody coaching me. And the only ones that were coaching me were the Christian women. They were like, no, just tell him, stop it. They were very matriarchal, and they were like, you need to just tell him not to. But I just didn't do that. I didn't rise up too often about him. I tried once, and I ended up walking home and when he kicked me out of the car. So I realized, okay, I'm going to have to let him listen to the rock and roll music. I learned kind of fast that, okay, I didn't like that, But we just started having some rocky problems. And when I'd start to try to share with him some of the things I was learning just about the Christian Jesus, it wasn't going anywhere. He was not too happy with me. But he allowed me to do it, until I met Pastor. Then it went not real good because now I'm bringing home truth. And I'm really sticking to this truth because I'm not changing at it. And the head covers was a little bit of a rocky situation. When Pastor had taught us, a little bit about wearing the head covers. I had no problem with that. But for some reason, one day, I remember making my bed, and I got the conviction, I need to wear this head cover all the time. And I put it on, and that did not go well because we were wearing different head covers. We had hats, and hats out in the city, people wear hats. So that wasn't a big deal because he thought this looked like a rag on my head. Get that rag off my head. Because we didn't have the pretty scarves and things we had back then. We were making our own clothes. We looked a little farmish, and for him to be a businessman and toting his wife that, in these long skirts and long dresses, we didn't have a lot of beautiful garments at that time. We just had what we could make and what we were wearing, from the Goodwill or whatever.
Yes.
So it was not pleasing to him at all. So my dress was not happy for him by wearing long garment. My head covers now, I'm starting to wear them all the time, so I get on the horn every time. Pastor, he's not happy about me wearing these head covers. Pastor says, you don't have to wear them head covers all the time. He said, just put your hand up over on your head if you got to pray, if whatever, or go in the bathroom and put your head cover on then. So see, he was very kind. He really wanted me to stay with this husband. He never ever told me, you need to just leave him. You need to, because I remember being out here one time, I got to come early on, and I called my husband, could I just stay for dinner, honey? Be just another hour. Do you mind? Because he was going to be gone. He was at the ballpark. He wasn't even going to be home. But that kind of made him mad. He said, why don't you just stay there forever? I said, Pastor, he said I could stay here forever. Pastor said, you cannot. You go home. You aren't ready for it. And
I'll take that one.
I knew I was, and my children were young. And I watched what the Father was doing is he wanted me to watch my children grow to see would any of them come in the faith. And I can remember before I came out here, I said, please, Father, don't ever separate me from my children. If even one of them will stay in the faith, I'll stay here. Because he had gotten very hostile at me. He was very bitter. And I watched, if you know bitterness spirit, I watched, we were down at violence. Once violence is murder. I knew I was real close. He just was not happy with, even though I was a very good wife, I did everything he wanted me to, except even on the Sabbath day. You know where I was at the Sabbath on Sabbath day? Where? At the ballpark.
Really?
I would take his children to the ballpark. They were football players. I'd take them to the ballpark. Pastor says, take them to the ballpark. Just take your lounge chair, take your Bible, and just sit away from them and read the Bible. Just where you can see the children. If they get hurt, you'll be there. So, see, I would even go out on the Sabbath day. I mean, I made a lot of concessions to stay with him. You know, I really did. I really tried to make it work. But I could watch them all going further and further away from me. And I even, before I came out, like the day or two before, I said, Father, are you sure you don't want me just to move to the town where they're at and just make sure? And I just knew that he was saying, daughter, they're never going to come with you. They're never going to come. And it bothered me. I carried that into the community when I came in here. Pastor looked at me in Dine Hall preaching one time. He said, Sister Barb, who would tell you that you shouldn't be here? And I said, the devil. He said, thank you. Because he knew it was weighing on me. That still, I'm like, did I make the right decision?
Yeah.
And I really, since that day, I've never looked back. I never really looked back, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't, because leaving your family is the hardest thing that you could possibly ever do. All I can say is that when you called me, I don't usually share my testimony, but I knew your heart was in, that you wanted to do whatever you could do to stay there. I did too. I stayed with them. I stayed until my daughter was in 10th grade. My boys were both just about ready to get out of junior high school and middle school and go into high school. And I had prepared them. I had been with them. I stayed at home with them. I was a very, very good mother. And because of my commitment to them, I knew that they were independent enough to go. Would you like to know what their professions are?
What?
My oldest boy is a emergency doctor, emergency room doctor.
Okay.
My youngest boy is a chemical engineer, and my daughter is a high school teacher.
That gets passed down from Jared. Wow, that's.
And I was married to. I can't say that he was a good man, because no one outside of Christ is good. But I do honor him as that he was a businessman, and we had a very nice life together before the faith. I really, and even after the faith, when I came to the faith, I still stayed a very, very good wife to him, and I really loved being married. I loved having children, and it was very hard for me. And some days it is hard, because I get to see everybody's life filled with children, filled with husbands, filled with lights, laughter, and I go home to a home. But the Father has filled it. I am one of the ones that He'll send a sister to stay the night with. So He's filled my life with family, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So I really don't miss anything in life. But there are times that, you say, Father, why didn't I get to be the wife, the one that Brother Kabir just had a picture, and she looks just as beautiful as anything. Why didn't I get to be that? Shut up, daughter, shut up. Yeah, I needed one just like you. I needed a school teacher that was single that can pray. And when I need prayer, I can roll her out of bed and get on her knees and pray. So I'm very content with my life, but it's fun.
Do you ever like? I'm even surprised how I don't have the guilt or even shame because I did everything I could to try to get because I wanted to raise my children in this but do you ever? Does that ever come in? You've been in it for so long. Do you ever regret to even come back or tries to come back in all these years?
Not at all. And I'll tell you why. Because of my love for Christ. I love him so much. I would do anything for him, because he did everything for me. And when he let me know that there are certain people that I will never have into my kingdom, no matter how much you beg me, no matter how much you think they look good, that they're going to do things, they are not mine. It took him a long time to get it in my mind that my children and my husband were not his. It took him a long time. As a matter of fact, I tried to raise it up just a couple of months ago, and he let me know, daughter. And Pastor's been very, very helpful in that. I remember thinking, man, could maybe my daughter, because if they're Edomites, I don't think the men can come into the kingdom. I said, but maybe my daughter. And Pastor came into the dining hall, and he said, it was a preaching, it was a sermon. He said, some of you still want your family members to come in. He said, they're not going to be coming in. That was an answer to prayer. I knew it. I said, thank you, Father. Now that's closed. Now my chapter is completely closed. But it's taken this many years, almost 20 years for me to really get a final nail in the coffin. That was the last one. I'm just not going there anymore, because I love him enough to respect his wishes and his kingdom.
Yeah. So last question. What there's people that you guys have you've been doing this for a long time, and you have gone before us. I mean, we are the benefactor of what Pastor Dow and all the people that supported him, like yourself.
Yes, sir.
What do you tell, if you could talk to the next generation, what do you tell us? I mean, what would you want to share with us about your journey, but to encourage us to continue this walk that we're in right now for the next generation? What would you want to tell us?
Well, I'll tell you what, I feel like I'm in an intermediary group. We had Mother Stallings. We had the people back in the 40s and 50s. We had William Seymour, who came through with Azusa Street when the Spirit started coming on. Mother Stallings got to see a lot of that fallout. Even though the white people took away from William Seymour and took like Jack Coe and A.A. Allen, they kind of were on the stage. They did the miracles and stuff. The Spirit was there, and I don't take away from them. I'm not knocking them at all, but they didn't share with the people. When Pastor came on board, he started doing just exactly what A.A. Allen and Jack Coe did, but he started sharing it with the people. The congregation started getting strong. I started seeing us getting really, really strong. What I see, though, is that you all are a bit weak. Okay, I had to come up through some pretty hard stuff. I had to pull up my bootstraps when I ended up being in that accident. So I had to dig. I had to really find out, and even coming out here, they had to do a lot of hard labor to make this place come in. Not only hard labor spiritually, but hard labor physically. Okay, some of us have got to come in. It's not quite as hard labor. You all come in from a little bit of a weaker position. You're going to have to get ready for some hard times, because until we all come to the level of where Christ wants us to get, we're going to go through a lot of hardships to get there. You guys are at that turning point where there's going to be some hardships laid on you. For example, not to pick on you, but you came through, your life has been, you've had a nice mansion, you've had running water all the time. We didn't get that always here. We got brought up, so it's going to be easier for us to come back down to pee buckets again and no water, because it's just like when they invaded Afghanistan. Those people in Afghanistan loved their country, loved their family so much that no one could ever take them over. They were willing to go to total poverty level. We got to get there. We're going to be taken down to poverty level. Are you ready, Brother Kabir, to go to poverty level where you're eating my daylilies that I know about, where you're eating the kudzu, sucking the root of a kudzu so that you have water? Are you ready for that? I don't know that the Father's going to take us there, but we got to be ready to go there. Okay? I mean, we've got some nice places, and He may just bless us and give us a bit, because the first time Pastor told us, you all, if you don't eat a bug in the green, you're not going to eat it when it's dry and you ain't got nothing, and them bugs are going to look pretty tasty to you. I said, I'm eating me a bug. And I said, I could see, as soon as I said, all right, Father, I'm ready to eat my bug. I was living out here. I said, I could see every holy angel go up. I'll find it for her. I had decided I was going to eat crickets, because Pastor one time did an unclean and clean food CD, and in it he said, wouldn't it be nice to have a cricket sandwich? So I figured, okay, crickets are good. I'm going to eat me a cricket. I said, I'm going to give me a cricket. I said, Father, next cricket I find, I'm going to eat it. I said, I could see them holy hands. I'll find it for Father. I walk in my bathroom. There he is. I'm like, oh, yeah. I grab him. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And his little legs are going everywhere. I'm like, what am I to do with this now, Father? What do I do? Pull off its legs or what? No, I'm just stuffing them in this peanut butter ball. I grab me this peanut butter ball. I got this peanut butter ball. And everybody will laugh right now that knows me, because I make peanut butter balls. And it's
I got to watch out.
So I stuff that bugger in the peanut butter ball. I roll him up and I'm saying, okay, here we go. Father, I'm getting ready to eat him. What I didn't realize when I pull him back, there's his body and all his crickety-looking legs. I go, oh, I got to chew this now. I got to chew all the peanut butter and everything else. It would have been easier just to stuff that bugger in my mouth and chew him. Now I got to chew him and all his legs for about 70 times till I get it down. That was stupid. Take your bug and eat it. Eat it. Pick his legs up and throw his body in, and you'll have him in 2 chops. Don't put him in a peanut butter bowl.
I have a fast processor, so I can eat that thing really quick.
Oh, I see that. But my thing is to get back to all seriousness. You just got to have your mind ready to go through some tough stuff. I will tell you one thing that one of the elders shared with me. He said, Sister Barb, this was Bishop Banks. Pastor will know who I'm talking about. He's the one that said, last stop past here is the pit. He was the first person I met when I came out here. Pastor was in his trailer the first time I come out, and Pastor says, I said, where's the pastor at? Oh, his trailer's the last one on the left, the pink one. I said, my pastor's in the pink trailer. That was funny. The pink wasn't a queer color at that time, And so I pull up there, and Bishop Banks is there. And Bishop was the one that told us, he said that he was a World War II fighter. And he said, you all don't know what it's like. He's talking about the blood that comes up to the horse's bridle when Jesus comes back, the slaughter that's going to go on. He said, I've been on the battlefield, and I've had to walk through bodies filled with blood, the field just filled with blood. He said, it's going to get that bad for you all when you go through tribulation. He said, you've got to be ready. The plagues that are going to come on this earth are going to be really bad. All the plagues that we think we've cured because we're so civilized, bubonic plague and all these things, they're coming back. They are coming back is what he taught us. So I knew my mindset had to get ready, and that's what I pass on to you all as just get ready for some tough times, but with prayer, the Father will help us get through them. And I have every bit of confidence in you all. The younger generation, I bless you all. You all are going to come through. I'm so excited to hand off the mantle. The third person in the race. You're the fourth person in the race. You got to get us home. So we're expecting your strength. We're expecting your dedication to follow us because we've shown you, we've given our life strength. I'm coming down to now. I'm starting to get a little more fragile and older, but I wished you the best, and I know that you all will do it. And so I bless every one of you saints out there. I love you very much, and I know that you're going to carry the mantle home, and Jesus is coming back in our lifetime, I hope.
Let me ask you just another question. What's the key to your longevity that you've stuck? Because you obviously seen a lot of people come and go. What's the key to your longevity as we look at people that have gone before us? What is the key to your longevity when you... because you've done it. So how did you do it?
Well, I'll tell you something, and I'll take you back to the Bible. When the woman who was she was reputed as a very whore or just a bad woman. She ended up at Jesus' feet, and she took her hair and she wiped Jesus' feet, and she cried the tears. And the men were saying the same thing. Man, why are you letting this woman touch you? Her gratitude. He said, that she who has sinned much loves much. You that have not sinned very much, and you don't recognize your sins, you don't pay attention to them, you think you're all perfect, you don't have much gratitude. When you know that you're a sinner and that you don't deserve anything but to be locked up forever in a darkened, gnashing your teeth place with worms all over you, when you recognize that and you know that somebody has released you from that prison, you are very grateful. My longevity in here is my gratitude and my thankfulness to Jesus and my adoration of him, my worship to him, and my gladness that he would even look down on a wretched sinner like me. And so I'm so thankful for that. So whatever he calls me to do, and taking care of babies is a pretty dirty, smelly job, and there's lots of things that you can think of. If you're a woman, you can think of things that you've done, or a man, getting out there and hoeing and digging and sweating, going into the root cellar and going through those buckets and all that kind of nasty, smelly stuff. There's a lot of tasks that you do in life that are dirty, but I always reflect back on Jesus. I'm not on the tree right now being whipped. I haven't had my beard plucked out. I haven't had my head smashed over with a rod, and I haven't been mocked to your level. So whenever I think, and it's getting tough, and I'm like, man, Father, I don't know if I can do this again. And I think on that, I say, yes, I can, sir. It's easier. What I have to do right now is easier than hanging on that tree with my arms stretched out and nails in them. So I always reflect back on Jesus. He has kept me in the race, and he has given me what I have now, and by the grace of Yahweh, I'll be in the kingdom with him, I do pray.
Hallelujah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Love you much.